What's up, everyone? Welcome to my YouTube channel, Mastermind here, and today's topic is going to be about Nintendo. Don't cheer. It's bad news. Bad news from Nintendo. Before I even get started, let me just say I am a huge Nintendo fan. That's what got me really into video games. I had a 2600 before that, but it really wasn't until the 8-bit Nintendo came out. I was just blown away. It changed my life in a lot of ways. But they just need to quit, man. It's over. It's done. So pretty much what's happening right now is they have released a bunch of numbers, and what the numbers are looking like, it's not looking really good for Nintendo right now. They revised their sales estimates earlier this year. If you remember, they had projected that they were going to do 9 million units. And they had to actually reduce that to 2.8 once they, I guess, saw how poorly the Wii U was selling. Well, they didn't even hit that goal. It was 2.7 million units that they've sold. And that is terrible, considering that they had a year start over the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. PlayStation 4 has now outsold the Wii U that has been out for over a year, and the Xbox One is catching up rapidly. So I understand a lot of Nintendo supporters are going to turn around and say, you know what? It doesn't matter. Nintendo makes the best games, and that's it. That's what it's all about. It's about gaming. And I will agree with you that it is all about gaming. I am going to disagree and say that I don't think they make the best games anymore. They make great games, but let's be real. They're not really innovating anything. There's nothing really new and like, wow, I've never done that before. I've done Mario a million times. I've played practically every version of a Mario game to come out. Zelda, they don't come out, I think, enough as far as I like, the way Wind Waker was different than Ocarina of Time and so on and so forth. So Zelda, I think it's always pretty fresh and pretty amazing. But overall, Mario Kart is always going to be Mario Kart. Super Smash Brothers is going to be Smash Brothers. So to say that Nintendo is innovating, no. And I think innovation is part of a great game studio, great game company. Now, Nintendo is known for innovating and creating a lot of these genres that we're playing now. But I'm saying they're not really doing anything extremely different at this point. The last huge, original, crazy thing that they did, I think, was like Mario Galaxy, where they took that to like a whole different level of Mario. But you don't see that often enough. It's just pretty much a new paint job, and that's it. And their games are getting a little tiresome. And I think the proof of that isn't just my opinion, but if you just look at the sales numbers alone, both on the software side and the hardware side, you got to ask yourself, why isn't the system selling? Why aren't their games selling like they should? You can't say that it's the marketing or that it's new IPs where you have to kind of create a buzz. These are established franchises that they're just not selling. The software isn't selling like it should. It's also not compelling people to go out and shell out another couple of $100s to buy a new system. They have good games, but to say that it is worth picking up a console so you can get 1 or 2 great games every 6 months, it's just not worth it. I bought a Wii U when it came out last year, just like I bought a Wii when it came out. And it sat and my entertainment system collecting dust. You also factor in that a lot of the games are the same. If you take, for instance, the new Super Mario Brothers, it's the same game we've been playing now for years. Mario Kart coming out, it's the same game that we've been playing. And I'm going to say something, and it's probably going to drive some of you crazy. Are you ready for this? I think Nintendo hasn't been really relevant in the gaming world as far as trends. since the Super Nintendo. Listen to what I'm saying. When the Super Nintendo came out, it was the most powerful system, well, at least more so than the Genesis. It was doing things that we had never seen with the Mode 7. That was really incredible. And then you had all of these games coming out. I mean, using the Mode 7. It was something new. Anything from F-Zero to Pilot Wings to, I mean, even the Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Super Contra, Super Castlevania. I mean, it was incredible. But I am not talking about trends in software. I'm talking about setting the trend as far as hardware. And I think that's an important thing that a lot of people are overlooking. What ended up happening was, I think the Nintendo 64 was a disaster. It had Mario World and it had Ocarina of Time, and I enjoyed a lot of games. Even Turok, the Dinosaur Hunter, you had the GoldenEye. I mean, they had good games. The fact that the N64 decided to go with cartridge really hurt them with third-party companies. And guess what? That trend has continued today. Sure, the circumstances are a bit different, but that's really the main thing. They don't have any third-party support. And I'm going to tell you, the only thing right now keeping Nintendo afloat is this right here. This is it. This is the only thing that's keeping Nintendo going, and it's sad. So back to the Nintendo 64. They actually backed out of their deal with Sony to create the Nintendo PlayStation, or whatever it was supposed to be called. So they actually created that monster, and Sony went ahead and created a PlayStation without them. So imagine what that merger could have been had they gone through with it. It wasn't able, it didn't have massive storage. Nintendo was using their cartridge, and they were cheaping their way out of everything. The controller was revolutionary, and of course, Miyamoto making Mario 64 and everything else. It was huge. And I think Nintendo took that model of business and continued it with the GameCube. They figured they didn't have to go with the trend. They didn't have to go DVD. They didn't have to have traditional controllers. They didn't have to do any of that. And I think it really hurt Nintendo, because I think the business model, the idea from that point on was, we're just going to keep releasing these systems. And everybody's going to buy it because, like Disney World, everybody loves Mickey Mouse. Well, everybody loves Mario. Everybody loves Zelda. And what ends up happening is you're going to have that crowd follow you and follow you and follow you. Then the Wii comes out. And this is where I think they really got caught up in this bubble and thought that everything they were doing was perfect. Because the Wii outsold the 360 and the PS3. But it still wasn't running the market. It was a different market. Let's be honest. The Nintendo fans went out and bought a Wii. I was one of them. And we were the ones let down as far as the games, as far as internet connection and multiplayer games. We were the ones screwed over. And how do you justify bringing out the Wii and it doesn't support HD? How do you let your competition of Sony and Microsoft bring out two systems with HD and your system doesn't? It's inexcusable. Old people were buying the Wii. It had become a huge fad, the Wii. It became a huge fad. There's no other way to get around that. So now, Nintendo thought, oh, we can keep doing this. We can release inferior hardware as long as we have Mario and a few gimmicky things, and here we are. Now, here's a problem with that thinking. If you have a stereo system, let's say, and you've had it for a couple of years, you decide you need a new stereo system. The whole point of doing that is because obviously you want to have better sound quality. Sure, it's going to play the same music, but you want your music to sound better. Same thing with a computer. It's going to have pretty much the same internet, but you're going to want to have a faster, better computer. It's the same thing with a television. You upgrade your TV, it's going to play the same movies, same kind of thing, only it's going to look clearer. Same thing with cell phones. So that's the whole reason why you go from one Nintendo system to the other. obviously, it's not just because of the games. It's because we're looking for an improvement in the quality of our games. Games are visual things. We want to be stimulated visually. I hate this idea that it's just nothing other than the games. That's just an excuse and a cop-out because you know your system is inferior. And as much as I want to love the Wii U and play it and have great games on it, I look at the games and I think to myself, wow, could you imagine what a new Zelda will look like on an Xbox One or PS4? Just think about that for a minute. So this is what I think Nintendo should do. I think from this point on, come E3 or soon after, maybe the Tokyo Game Show, the next one, or somewhere, they have to announce that they're going to create a new system. They're going to get it hard from the fans, but I think if they were able to somehow do something, maybe like what they did with their Club Nintendo, do something for that audience, for the people who bought that system, do something for them. And then everyone else just pay for a system and have that system either just as powerful, if not more powerful than the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, maybe equivalent to a very high-end PC right now. If they don't do that, because let's just face it, and let's be honest, if you're honest with yourself, especially Nintendo supporters, you're going to have to acknowledge that the system isn't going to be successful. It's dead. It's dead. Once these clump of games come out and the system doesn't really sell a lot more, there's really nothing else that they're going to do to convince the masses to purchase their system. So if they don't make a new system, what should they do? Well, I'd say, and this would be my preferred thing, this is the thing I would rather see them do more than anything, become a third-party developer. Your games are great, Nintendo. And if anybody in Nintendo land is hearing me, I'm just one person. I'm not a huge YouTube person, not yet. So please subscribe. Anyway, but if anybody out there is listening to this, the fans are telling you, become a third-party company. I couldn't imagine what a Zelda would be like on a PS4 or Xbox One. I mean, just the thought of it, or a Metroid, or, I mean, could you imagine? And I think Nintendo, they're at a point now where they should just be a software company. They need to get out of the hardware business. It happened to Sega, and I'm not going to say Sega has been hugely successful, but they're doing better now than what they were when they were struggling with the Dreamcast and the Saturn. So anyway, those are my thoughts on what I think Nintendo should do from here on out. I really believe that if we take our nostalgia and we just put that aside, you know, that tradition of having a Nintendo system, I think if we did that, and Nintendo was able to do that and start creating software for the PC, for the PS4, and the Xbox One, I think what would end up happening is that their beloved franchises would continue and even to a much greater audience. Because right now, I don't think their business model and their hardware is really meeting the demand of today's gamer. And I understand that Nintendo is sort of like Disney World, where they kind of have that group of people who are always going to be loyal to them. But as those group of people continue to shrink, I think it's becoming increasingly more difficult for Nintendo to see success. And I think that was evident with the Wii, the original Wii. The only difference was they had a gimmick that a lot of people bought into. But the truth of the matter is, it's time for them to make a change. And this is all about games, and that's why we're here, is it not? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment. If you like what I'm bringing, like, share, and definitely subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching. Overcasting y'all, cloudy days making waves, mastermind,